Hi, my dear family. Here is your weekly forecast starting on the 4th of May until the 13th of May. So we are covering a little bit of a longer period here. And you will see why, because again, I don't wish to break a certain sequence. Last week, Venus received a huge attention, and then now Mercury is going to be receiving quite the spotlight. So let's get going. On 4th of May, we have got Ceres in Taurus, makes a sextile to Jupiter in the sign of Cancer. And this is quite a beautiful, harmonious flow between physical security and emotional growth. Ceres in Taurus is grounded, focusing on tangible resources, comfort, and self-worth, while Jupiter in Cancer is nurturing, it seeks security in the domestic sphere. So when they connect via this sextile, you have the opportunity to stabilize your home environment while expanding your sense of emotional well-being. So this energy might be bringing you a review around household expenses or plan long-term investments for your living space. It is an excellent day to look for abundance in your current resources, perhaps realizing that a project you thought was expensive is actually quite manageable if you break it down into smaller practical steps. By the way, as you can see, this sextile is going to be happening on 19 degrees. So this is especially important for you if you have got any planets on 19 degree. But also, if you have been feeling emotionally overwhelmed, you can really use these Taurus ruled activities to center yourself. So you can prepare a nourishing meal, organize your pantry, tending to indoor plants. All these can provide the stability needed to calm that emotional tide. Maybe it's about you traveling with your family somewhere, going to the nature. Even it's a supportive time to discuss future goals with family members or partners. The sextile makes communication about needs and security easier, allowing for productive planning without the usual emotional friction. So it really feels to me that it's a bridge between your need for stability and your desire for emotional expansion. Ceres in Taurus asks us to prioritize the physical foundation of our lives, our resources, our comforts, our self-care routines as well. While Jupiter in Cancer invites us to dream bigger regarding our home life, family, connections, or emotional security. Because these two planets are in a supportive sextile aspect. You don't have to choose between being practical and nurturing your heart. They are actually working together right now. Yes, it might be also asking you to audit your budget. Look at where you are spending your time and your money. Are these investments actually making you feel more secure, or are they just kind of like adding additional clutter to your life? Focus your resources on things that provide a long-term comfort for you. And maybe it's about upgrading your comfort zone, whether it is organizing a specific room, fixing a small issue around the house, or preparing slow, meal, or even the physical acts of care, but it's going to give you that emotional boost that you need. And maybe you have been hesitant to start a project related to home or family or even relocation topics as well. Actually, today, this aspect is kind of like giving you the green light to make that first move. Now, talking about relocation, by the way, I've got a master class coming up on relocation. It's going to be 16 weeks. And the beauty of this course is that I'm going to walk you through 6 techniques and timing techniques as well. So you can really choose the best location ever. This is a request from many of my students, and I can see how interested you guys are in relocation because I'm getting more and more requests from clients to look at where they should live or live. So therefore, I decided to put this course together. I did one a couple of years ago that was 8 weeks. So now I doubled up the lessons so that we can really dive deep into this. And by the way, it is also available via my membership program. So if you are already a member, good on you, then it's going to be free of charge. If you would like to join my membership, check it out on my website and check out the very detailed syllabus of this master class program as well. Now, moving forward, on the 5th of May, Mercury is actually starting its journey. Mercury is in Taurus, squaring Pluto. Then Mercury squares Juno as well. So this is going to be happening over a 2-day period. And even Mercury is going to be making at the same time a sextile to the North Node in Pisces and the trine to South Node. So now you understand why Mercury is super busy this week. And it's a bit of a high pressure mental environment, really. You know, that square to Pluto and Juno, it's a friction regarding your resources, values, and commitments. Maybe this is a very stubborn resistance to change, and it's getting confronted by this powerful, perhaps overwhelming need to restructure how you relate to groups or partners or even friends as well. Now, the square is, by the way, happening on 5 degrees. So you can see that the nodes are going to be shifting onto 5 degree. Mercury is on 5 degree and Pluto is on 5 degree as well. So like I said, this aspect pattern is happening between the 5th and the 7th of May. However, those connections to the lunar nodes act kind of like as a safety valve. The trine to the south node in Virgo rewards precision, analytical work, while the sextile to the north node in Pisces invites you to trust your intuition. So the key within this 3-day window is to use your analytical skills to navigate this tension, but remain open to a more intuitive, kind of like flexible outcome. And this is where the challenge comes because Mercury and Pluto can obsess over security, for example. That's a kind of like a very much of a Taurus style type of solution. So that square is forcing you to get out of your comfort zone. Like if you're negotiating terms or handling business agreements, you may hit a wall. Pluto Juno energy can make partners or groups appear demanding or unyielding, and you can use that Virgo influence to focus on the fine print or the data. Don't let the emotions dictate the terms of a deal today, because then we might be signing up for the wrong course of action. Also, I can imagine that you might find yourself locked in my way or the highway type of mindset. So if you feel the urge to dig in your heels, recognize it as the square aspect. You know, ask yourself, am I protecting my value or am I just resisting necessary change? And when a conflict arises, it's about synthesizing your approach. So you can use the Virgo style analytical approach to organize your facts and figures, your finances, because Mercury is really thinking about finances right now in the sign of Taurus, or it is thinking about comfort. But keep that Pisces style receptively to allow for an intuitive solution because it's not always about trying to solve issues, you know, through analytical mindset. And this is what the nodes are talking to you about. You're going to have to be able to balance your act out. And yes, sometimes we're going to miss certain type of details, right? So we're going to have to be quick on our feet. But also we can obsess with Mercury and Pluto on the bottom line as well. So this is a bit of an intensity here. Your communication style and your commitment patterns are being tested really with that square. And yes, you can feel a very strong pull to hold your ground, but external forces like group demands, friend demands, push you towards a radical restructuring. A square is a friction. So it shows or highlights where your current systems are kind of like breaking down. So this is not a day to force an outcome. It is a day to observe, do the digging, basically. Where does that resistance come from? You know, and also don't mistake stubbornness for strength. Now, often that's the problem with this aspect. It's very easy to confuse holding firm with being right, right? So if you are feeling pressured by a partner or a group, take a step back, examine if your refusal to kind of budge is based on real value or just simply fear, because that's Pluto. The fear of changing the status quo, for example. And the Mercury South Node trine is your best friend really today. You can use the logic, analytical skills to break down complex problems into these manageable steps. And if a deal or a conversation feels overwhelming, look at the technical details. That is where you will find clarity. And while you are busy being practical, keep your mind open to the bigger picture. That sextile to the North Node suggests that the more intuitive, a more holistic approach is the ultimate way forward. Sometimes the most logical answer is just the starting point. The real solution might require a leap of faith also. So it feels like that precision meets perspective. Use your head to handle the details, but keep your heart open to the necessary shift. Now, why I also feel like it's an important aspect pattern here is because Mercury is a dispositor of the South Node. And Mercury is essentially kind of like the manager of what you are trying to release. If we look at the South Node as a release point in our chart, so it gives us the opportunity to consciously let go of outdated analytical habits or even the idea of perfectionism. However, today's squares from Pluto and Juno complicate this, of course. Pluto adds that obsessive, all or nothing intensity, while Juno forces the issue through the lens of commitment and partnership. So you're being asked to release old habits, but external pressures are trying to keep you locked into this rigid structure or a specific contractual agreement. So use the grounded nature of Taurus to steady yourself. Don't let the intensity of these squares prevent the necessary release. It feels like it's kind of like an attachment audit. So if you feel an intense urge to hold on to a project, agreement, or a person, stop and ask, is this attachment based on genuine values, or is it fear-based pattern, fear driven pattern? And maybe you are not ready to move past something. So since Mercury manages the South Node, you have the authority to decide when the pattern actually ends. It's also about renegotiating commitments. Potentially, it's a promise that you can make to yourself that you are going to be turning your health around. Or maybe you feel pressure to uphold a commitment that is no longer serving you. So you can really use this Mercury in Taurus influence to approach the conversation with a very calm, practical, and a non-negotiable boundaries. It is not about fighting the commitments. It is about adjusting it. So it doesn't feed the South Node cycle of overanalyzing, overworking, over-criticizing, and all those type of stuff. And when Pluto squares Mercury, actually, the mind tends to loop. So if you find yourself stuck in a mental spiral regarding a partnership, Juno, then use the South Node release valve. Literally write down the old way you used to handle distress, acknowledge it, and consciously decide not to employ the method today. So it feel like I said, the reason why we are talking about this aspect in detail, because I find it super, um, important. And this might be giving you the opportunity to break free from old mental loops, habits, patterns. And Mercury is kind of like the gatekeeper of your evolution right now. And Pluto is forcing you to evolve. But that gatekeeper is being tested. With that square to Pluto and Juno, it's a pressure to keep doing things the way we have always done them, especially regarding agreements, commitments, shared responsibilities. I think Mercury right now is all about empowerment with Pluto to say enough is enough. The pressure from Pluto and Juno to stay attached to a specific outcome is just a noise. You have the grounded energy of Taurus to help you stay steady. Identify your old stories, and basically detach yourself from any type of people who might not be kind of like giving you the room to breathe. You are not bound by your past commitments. Use your logic to detach from what no longer serves your growth, basically. So now we're going to move on to the 7th of May, when Pallas Athene is going to be meeting up Neptune in the sign of Aries. Well, I'm sure many of us are getting tired of the lot of Aries activations, but hey, we have got all those 12 planetary bodies in the sign of Aries for a reason. And of course, with Pallas and Neptune meeting up, yes, we are going to be experiencing again a bit of an Aries part of our chart. But this is the intuitive strategist combination. Pallas Athene represents wisdom, pattern recognition, the ability to formulate a defense or a strategy. Now, Neptune represents the dream, the unseen, the dissolution of boundaries. So when they meet in this bold, pioneering sign of Aries, your strategic capabilities are infused with a vision, a visionary insight. So you aren't just looking at the facts, you are seeing the bigger picture, you are seeing your mission. Now, the challenge here is not to get lost in the mist. Because Aries is very impulsive, there is a risk of acting on a gut feeling before the strategy is actually fully formed. However, when channeled correctly, this alignment allows for creative breakthroughs where you find a unique, unconventional solution to a problem that has been kind of plaguing you. Now, this is happening on 3 degree. So, do you have any planets on 3 degree of the cardinal signs? Because then it's going to be a super important aspect for you. Now, if you have been stuck on a project, for example, today is the day to abandon that rigid traditional approach and maybe try a bit of a wild card strategy and trust your intuition. If something feels like the right direction, it likely is, even if you can't fully explain the logic to others just yet. It's about you redefining your creative mission. I mean, this is brilliant for artists, writers, entrepreneurs, because it's all about visualizing your next major move. And Pallas provides a structure for your dreams. So write down your crazy ideas. One of them is likely kind of like a stroke of genius. That just needs a bit of a practical plan to execute. And we have got quite a lot of Taurian energy getting activated, and that's about manifestation, right? Now, Pallas Neptune can create a bit of a fog. So, if you feel like you are chasing a goal that keeps shifting or is based on an illusion, based on how things should be rather than how they are, then you might want to take a step back. Ensure your strategy is grounded in reality before committing, significant energy or resources to something. But it's a very inspiring alignment as well. This isn't just a sit back and wait type of energy. This is an intuitive action. So you are being invited to take a leap of faith, but with a touch of calculated, wise perspective, though, because that's what Paulus is good at. Your mind is very sharp, but it's also deeply connected to your inner vision as well. You might receive, a flash of insight regarding your career, your personal goals, or your creative project today. Don't second guess it just because it isn't kind of like the standard way of doing things. Aries wants to be the trailblazer. It also feels like that it's kind of like creating this bridging the gap between your dreams and plans. So if you have a big vision, and you have always known that you wanted to go towards it, then Pallas Athene is bringing you the exact steps to take. So sit down and map out, kind of like a rough draft. Pallas is excellent at organizing chaos also, and Neptune represents chaos. So but because Neptune can be porous, it's important to set boundaries as well. If you feel overwhelmed by the needs or opinion of others, kind of step away a little bit. If your intuition is telling you you need a bit of a space and breathe, then just do so. Um, Now, on the 9th of May, we are going to be having Demeter entering the sign of Leo, and it's going to be active until August 6th in the sign of Leo. Demeter is the archetype of harvest, nurturing, the cycles of growth, and it moves into this really radiant sign. It is all about me wanting to be seen. It's about while Demeter is often associated with practical side of like resources, but in the sign of Leo, it really changes the flavor of how we grow and nourish our lives. So this is not behind the scenes work, it's about celebrating that harvest, celebrating our achievements. It's about giving that nurturing element to someone or to yourself through visibility, creative expression, the genuine pride in what you have produced. This is a time when the mother becomes kind of like the queen. The way you nurture yourself and others will become more theatrical, generous, more heart-centered as well. So if you have been working hard on a project or a course, this transit is about that you don't have to hide it. You don't have to hide that I'm proud of something. Leo is the sign of stage. So it's about putting something out there on a stage because you nurtured your work and now you have to let it be seen, let it be kind of uploaded in a way. This is also about a generous leader, potentially. So it's about doing something nice to someone, especially if you want to be kind of like the ultimate mentor. So it's about nurturing your students, your husband. Of course, it depends on the house position where Leo is falling into. But I think it invites us also for self-care as well. It's about getting in touch with that inner child. We cannot just be all the time busy with work of growth, right? Leo is insisting sometimes a bit of a fun and doing something creative for ourselves. But this energy is also about the effort to grow, to build, or nurture your life. Especially if you feel like that something has been kind of like under the radar or it was purely just functional. Get ready for a change. Demeter in Leo is about the harvest of joy. She reminds us that we don't just grow for the sake of survival, we grow so that we can shine. So you are going to grow through expression. It's not just about the daily grind, it's about how much you love, how passionate you are, and you can pour into your work as well as into your relationship. It's a bit of like a proud parent energy. Demeter is the mom archetype, Leo is the child archetype. So whether you are nurturing a creative project, a business, or your family, this is the time to be vocal about how proud you are and it's celebrating the milestones. So don't wait for the perfect moment to kind of share your success story with others. Don't hide your light under, don't hide your light, basically. That's the most important part. Now, on the next day, 10th of May, the sun is in Taurus, sextiling Jupiter in Cancer. And this is one of the most harmonious aspects, especially for building a foundation that feels as good as it looks. Sun in Taurus shines a light on your practical resources, values, physical comfort, money, while Jupiter in Cancer expands your capacity for emotional security and belonging. So these two are connected via a sextile. So you are supported in making moves that ensure you feel both safe and abandoned. This is this is not necessarily about gambling, though. This is more to do with a reward or giving you the stability that you need. It's a perfect energy for cementing a plan, investing in your living space, nurturing a relationship that provides you with a sense of home, feeling good in your own skin as well. So you might be doing minor renovations, organizing a shared space, or finally buying that piece of furniture you have been eyeing with. Then you get the green light here. Also, maybe this is a bit of a harmony that you try to create, especially maybe after a bit of a tension within your family or even your core team. This energy encourages kind of like a come together type of approach, like a food, shared activities, just being present in the same physical space. And that can do wonders for resolving past misunderstandings. The past misunderstandings comes from the fact that Mars is actually squaring Jupiter at the same time, which obviously happened last week. And if you are working on a budget or a business plan, then you can really use this energy today to lock in the numbers as well, because it might be giving you the confidence you need to trust that you are moving towards a period of growth as well as sustainability. If the past few days, felt like a bit of a challenge of the last week, especially, then I think it's actually providing you the chance to catch your breath and ground that energy into something very tangible. But with Demeter, which is obviously disposed by the sun, straight after we have got this sextile, it's kind of like a guaranteed growth, really. It's really about feeling comfortable, secure, feeling kind of like truly in your own element in a way. This might also invite you to focus on your nest. So, how do you want to recharge your energies? What you want to be improving in your environment? So, whether it's cleaning, decorating, or just spending a quiet evening with family, but this definitely multiplies the possibility of great success of that. And maybe you have been feeling hesitant about making a commitment to something like a living situation because you weren't sure if it was safe enough, let's say, to relocate. Then look at the facts today, and then you get the clarity that you need. And it's kind of like recognizing that you can afford to grow. So let me remind you again about my upcoming masterclass on relocation because I feel like many of you might be able to benefit from this. So, and then we have got on the 13th, Mercury in Taurus, sextile Jupiter in Cancer. So another Mercurian aspect here. And you can see actually we've got a triple conjunction happening. It's going to be happening on May 14th, actually, when the triple conjunction will take place. And I'm going to make a very separate video about that. But it's a beautiful sextile to that Jupiter. So, it's the mind and the capacity for emotional growth are connected. So this is a constructive conversations which can have a really positive outcome. If you have been needing to discuss plans related to home, family, finances, real estate, relocation, then actually this energy supports the calm, grounded, and forward-thinking communication. It's about talking about how to build a better life. So it's all about productive negotiations. It's about family event planning potentially. It's mindful studying. Like if you're learning a new skill, this aspect helps you retain information. The focus is on the practical application of what you know. Reading about how to implement a strategy, you know, is actually more effective today than kind of like abstract theories. Um, I think often we struggle to balance our logical to-do list with our emotional need for comfort. And today, those two sides of our brain is kind of like working together. So you're finding that the most logical path is also the one that makes you feel the most secure or nurtured. This is about speaking your truth as well with kindness. If there is a bit of a difficult conversation we have been putting off, then this energy supports you that. And you can be direct with Taurus without being harsh, though. And you can be empathetic, and that's Cancer, without being too passive. And then all of a sudden you figure out how to do that. Or maybe this is about sitting down with family members and brainstorming. Or a bit of dreaming as well, especially with the recent Pallas Neptune energy earlier this week. So this is a kind of like day to put those dreams on paper, creating a budget, outlining the project, set a timeline. Um, and this is about small steps. It's not a massive, chaotic leap to move forward. Small, little, consistent actions taken today actually will yield outsized results in the long run. So trust that what you are building is actually meant to last. Now we are still on the 13th because Vesta enters Aries as well. So you see now Vesta is on 29 degree, but we are on 3 a.m. So on the same day, Vesta moves into the sign of Aries. And Vesta is the keeper of sacred flame and focus. So the 13th planetary body is entering the sign of Aries. So you are going to get very devoted to that Aries cusp of your chart. That's Vesta shows where we keep the fire burning. So the nature of the devotion, shifts from something that might have been internal, spiritual, or collective, that's Pisces, into something like highly active, individualistic, courageous. This is the devoted warrior archetype. So your focus is not just about maintaining the space, it's about actively igniting a new mission, something that serves your personal sovereignty. So it's kind of like if you have been waiting for the right moment to dedicate yourself to, let's say, gym or a personal project, a fitness routine, an entrepreneur startup, or any type of bold creative endeavor, then this is kind of like the match. It's like a spark, and then it goes on fire, basically. This is this is about you prioritizing your own path. This is not passive devotion. If you are committed to something, be vocal, be direct about it. Let's assert your boundaries. If someone demands your time and pulls you away from your sacred work or project, then it's all about saying no to them. So this is an excellent time to implement strict personal schedules, habits. It's about doing things for yourself and not for others. It's about honoring who you are. Um, Vesta is the part of you that knows how to commit. So in the sign of Aries, the flame there isn't just kind of flickering, it's catching fire. So this can make you super motivated. It's no waiting game anymore to be ready or, it's about let's go, basically. Maybe it's about you creating your sacred space for yourself as well. Think about it this way. What is the one thing you are doing for you right now? Do you have an answer for that question? If no, then you have to create one with this. So dedicate a block of time, a specific corner of your desk, or a daily habit solely to your personal development. Aries is the sign of individuality. So when you are focused on your work, for example, don't let others dilute your energy. If you are starting something new, keep the flame protected until it is strong enough to withstand any kind of hurdles. It's kind of like you are doing a campfire. That needs a bit of a protection, right? Um, and then we have got Bacchus entering the sign of Cancer this week as well. I mean on the 13th, this day. And Bacchus is associated with ecstasy, sensory indulgence. So when Bacchus enters Cancer, the nature of partying changes a little bit. It's not so wild, it's not so public. It is more intimate, soulful indulgence. This is a cozy celebration. This is a deep emotional release through shared meals, sensory pleasure of being at home with those you love. It's kind of like an invitation to treat your private life as a sacred space for enjoyment. So it's a feast energy. Like if you have been looking for an excuse to host a gathering, then this is actually inviting you to do such thing. It says focus on high quality, comforting food and drink. It's about emotional bonding through sensory experiences. Now, Bacchus can be a bit of a letting go energy as well. So if you have been carrying emotional tension, this transit allows you to release it through celebration, a night in with family or close friends, playing music, having a takeout. It's kind of like a reset button for your nervous system. Of course, you might want to be doing something luxurious, and therefore it can represent overindulgence as well. Don't forget that Bacchus is now witnessed by Jupiter as well. So we can spend a lot of money, or we can eat a lot of things, or we are going to be buying expensive, I don't know, cotton sheets, for example, or a glass of wine is fine, but you might end up having 10 glasses at the same time. So just be mindful a little bit about that. Mm, so this is your weekly energy pattern. I mean, I hope it helps, and it's actually time to break it down for all 12 signs. So see you in my next video. Take care. Bye bye.